We are the chosen ones, helping our Mother Earth. I'd like to take a moment just to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we are recording this podcast on, the people of the Mudjanji country around the beautiful Babinda. We acknowledge the elders of the past and present and the emerging storytellers. And we thank this beautiful land that we're going to enjoy after our podcast.
Welcome everyone. My name is Nicola and I'm an artist. I currently work with my hubby in a business called Just Be Design, and today we want to talk to you about an amazing coincidence that happened with a life model that I did a beautiful drawing of, and a WOW festival, Women of the World.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Heather. I am Nicola's life model from when she did her life drawing. I also work as a nurse and a whole bunch of other things, and I would love to share a story and a really special moment in my life. Did you want me to say what happened that morning?
Yeah, so maybe we can set the scene. It was this year, 2022, in May, and I had a market stall at the WOW Festival, which was run at Balumbaja Women of the World Festival. It was a little art stall that I had, and it was really wonderful to be a part of it. And about mid-morning, something magical happened, but I think you should perhaps tell the story.
Yeah, so about mid-morning, I was between sessions at the Women of the World Festival. I was actually there for work, and was just walking through this marketplace and looking around all these beautiful things and taking in the atmosphere, and I was looking at this came across this beautiful piece of artwork behind me, and I went, that is gorgeous. And there was something that just really stood out off the page at me amongst this huge busy market, and I went, that's me. And I had exclaimed myself in that kind of tone and this excitement and recognition, and all in one moment. And Nicola picked up on it, and she was, I think you were...
You literally walked in and went, oh my God, that's me. And I had been looking for you to gift you one of these pieces and hadn't been able to find you. And went to the side of our stall, and I was able to gift you one of these beautiful prints, which is a signed edition, and was like, I'm so grateful to finally connect with you again. And then we were able to share how that artwork and the words "you are enough," particularly on a women's marketplace, just meant so much to us that day.
It really did. It really did.
Yeah. And I was blown away that it was at that moment that I was able to connect with you to gift it to you as well, which was really wonderful.
Yeah. So if we step back a little bit further, back to when I came to life modelling, that night, it was about a year before the WOW.
2021.
Probably about halfway through that year, in about sort of June, and I've done a little bit of life modelling, not a whole lot of it. I wouldn't actually define myself as a model, but I have done it and I'm quite comfortable doing it. But yeah, that night there was nothing incredibly special about that night, but yeah, just the way that our story has unfolded since then, there was obviously some magic in the making then, that it was just an ordinary night like any other. I showed up and, did my life modelling, which is always such a positive experience for me and quite powerful and liberating to do some tasteful nude artwork is always really fun for me. But yeah,
I'd been loving doing life drawing for about a year on a Tuesday night in Cairns, and had loved drawing Heather that evening at life drawing. At the festival, at the WOW Festival, I'd actually, with this You Are Enough saying, I'd had such an amazing experience to meeting Billy from 4EB, and she came around later in the day and was interviewing everybody for a little short snippet in a podcast that was going to be going on a Brisbane radio station. And I had the BAT people next to me on my left, and I had Women Against Violence on my right, and it was at about 2:00 in the afternoon, and I sort of started slinking down in my chair going, what have I got to say? Oh my God, what have I got to share? These people are saving bats, these people are saving women. I'm not sure I've got enough to say. And then Billy came around and had a chat to me, and I was able to share with her the experience with Heather that morning and how it was so incredible to meet you and that we had a collaboration now going forwards. And Billy turned around to me and went, that is such an exciting story. Oh my God, I can't wait to interview you. And then I kind of had this realization that, you know, art can be powerful and you can say a beautiful message through, you know, what you're doing of service through your art and connecting in with the women. And then the podcast interview happened, and once I'd finally finished packing up the markets that day, I went home and listened to the podcast with Neil, my hubby, and it just made me well up because toward the end, Billy had said one of the highlights for her was interviewing me and finding out this story about you, because it makes me a bit emotional actually, that even just to get out of bed some mornings when you're not feeling great and just putting your foot out the door and going ahead sometimes is all that it takes. Because then there's this support network and you start to feel great about yourself through the connection with others. And even an artwork about yourself.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Like that, I mean, I remember waking up that morning of the WOW Festival, and I had a moment with my partner that, you know, we have, you know, beautiful intimate chats together every morning because we've got such a beautiful connection, and I'm so, you know, so in love with this man. But
it's beautiful.
I was in a moment, or a quite a deep moment of self-doubt, and I'd woken up that morning and had, you know, was realizing that I'd put on a little bit of weight, and I was really beating myself up about that. And, you know, these old demons about like my own body image and always having like thick thighs and cellulite and never, you know, fitting into that typical, you know, beauty standards that we all beat ourselves up about, and which is all just incredible rubbish. And I know there's so much positive work out there these days about body positivity and, you know, loving yourself exactly as you are. But I'm not immune to it these days, you know, like it's those demons still come back, you know, no matter kind of how much work we do on ourselves, there's still those deep wounds, you know, that remain. So to have woken up that morning, I remember having that conversation with you, like when we've connected again, of like, this is, you know, such a significant moment or day for me to come across my body looking like this, so beautiful and strong and powerful, with this message behind it and underneath it and around it, that I am enough exactly as I am. I don't need to prove myself to anybody. And I hope that echoes through to all other women. And I hope that anyone looking at this artwork or who purchases this artwork feels that sense that we all have got our own journey to work with, but we are all enough.
Yes, on all levels. On all levels.
Yes. And I would like, just go back a moment. I remember a phone call that we had not so long ago, and you said something like, I'm, you know, going into, when you were talking about you were nestled between the BAT people and the domestic violence people, and that you didn't feel like you had anything of value to add to the world. Like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I'm not, you know, I'm not a teacher. Like, I don't do anything of value. This is of value. This is incredibly powerful. And if I could tell you anything, like, there is such power in artwork, and this is how we get our messages across. And, you know, I want to tell you, like, as a creative, as an artist, you are enough and you add enough. Yeah, so you don't have to be a doctor, a nurse, you know, a bat saver or anyone against domestic violence in your work.
Yes.
Just are enough.
And I think that sort of a message is really beautiful. A lot of artists, I think, feel that, whether they're making art or music or poetry or dance, there's moments where you are in self-doubt because you are putting your heart out there.
Yeah.
And that's something that you get better at as you practice it.
The vulnerability.
But this experience has just culminated so many different things for me that have brought that message really together, which is wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
The actual original piece was I work on big butcher's paper.
That's right, yeah.
And, you know, it's sort of started out a lot bigger and with soft pastel and all the shading. And when I'd thought about doing a print with the female image and I was going through all my life drawings I'd done that year, this one really stood out. I liked how she was just sort of looking back behind her shoulder and feeling really comfortable in her own skin. And then I had to work out how to do the shading in halftones and shrink her down to fit into sort of a beautiful, sizable piece that people can digest. Yeah. So it's been quite an amazing journey for me on the arts side of things. In 2019, I actually, in the middle of the year, dropped all my other work and went full-time as an artist, which I think I'd always been wanting to do, but it just takes a lot of bravery, I think, to just kind of dive in the deep end. And I was like, nah, now's the time, I'm going to do it. Little did I know that 2020 was around the corner, as did everybody. And it's been an interesting couple of years. But my hubby and I both run a screen printing business where we create artworks that we do all the design work for and sell them at local markets. And the life drawing became something that I actually wanted to share with my hubby, doing something artistically that didn't actually need to be for the markets or for anything. And so it was just an activity for us to do together. It was at InkMasters on Greenslopes Street. And I did probably about a year on Tuesdays there. And really enjoyed the process of just focusing with 10 other artists in a space at the beautiful figure that you were drawing in the front. And there's something quite magical about that concentration, and the 2 hours just goes boom and you're done. It
does, yeah. Even as the model, like the minute poses just go so quickly. So the format is basically as everyone will gather, the model will come out, and you'll do 5 single poses of 1 minute each, and then gradually it'll go from 3 minutes to 5 minutes to 7 to 10 or 12 or 15 and onwards up to 20 minutes. So the time just seems to vanish in those moments. Like, yeah, you think, I don't know, time's so relative. Like, you can be doing something for a minute and it feels like forever, but when you're modelling, it just kind of seems to just evaporate.
I actually remember talking to you about it, and that you said that it's almost like a meditation.
Yeah.
Because I was really curious about what it was like to be the model. I was saying to Heather in a conversation later on that we had about how I was like, what's it like to be a life model? Like, I've done the drawing side of it, but I have such respect for you to have that vulnerability to be able to be naked in front of a room full of people that are not only just looking at you, they're drawing you, and to drop into that space. Like, what does it take to do that?
It's not for everyone. I will say that it's not for everyone. I've been probably, for want of a better word, an exhibitionist since I was a little girl. Like, I've always enjoyed being up on stage and like having attention upon me, not necessarily being the centre of attention, but I've always enjoyed dancing and singing and, you know, acting. And it wasn't until, I guess, later in my very late 20s and around my 30th birthday, I actually did a little bit of like amateur burlesque work back in Melbourne. So I would get up on stage and do my little strip tease and get down to pasties and G-string, and it was just so liberating. And I don't know how else to describe it other than just really freeing and just fun in just being able to be like, woo, I'm naked. Like, it's fun. And I still have a lot of fun in the life modelling, even though it's very sort of static. I still try and manage to find elements and moments of fun in amongst some more sort of dramatic poses or, you know, calm and centeredness. Yeah.
You are a wonderful life model. I remember the evening when I did this series of drawings, just being like, wow, you've really got that beautiful, there's a playfulness and the burlesque side, like really elegant but playful poses. And your haircut that night, I think you just had your haircut and it was just slinking through over to your
It was a really
neck.
quite angular bob.
Yeah.
Yeah, bob cut. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Beautiful to draw.
I remember you said something, it was in a phone conversation after we reconnected, you said something like, I was just going to life drawing with the aim of just drawing to draw without any concept of creating artwork afterwards. And I sort of got the sense that you had really been like burnt out and like in this kind of creatively constipated state previously and just really just needed to just be in a creative space in the moment and to just draw.
Yeah.
What would you say about that?
I think creatively there's always ideas bubbling out of me, and I've been doing that since I was a little kid, drawing and looking at nature and moss and textures. But I think for me it was about just being present with something that didn't have to commercially become like a tea towel or a table runner that I was making for a market stall. And it was so nice to just do it for no other reason than the process and the joy of drawing. And that was really quite liberating, really, as well as appreciating the beautiful physical form and really understanding that I liked to draw the body, the human body, and capture.
And I like to be drawn.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I think at the end of the life drawing, I'd spoken to you back in the 2021 when I'd done the drawings and just sort of said, wow, it must feel really quite amazing to do this. And I think you'd said to me that day that it was like you always walked out of there feeling like $1 million. It was like such an incredible feeling to have gone, I just did that. And that happened, that magical 2 hours had happened with all the other artists as well. Yeah, it's like a nice little pause, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Really good. Just on the topic of producing art and end products, I noticed this beautiful backdrop behind us, which is something that Nick has created. So would you like to tell us a bit about that?
So this is a photograph of tree bark from up at Lake Barine of the beautiful twin kauris that are ancient, giant, beautiful trees that you can walk to very easily from Lake Barine. It's digitally printed onto some beautiful linen cotton fabric that I thought would work really well as a backdrop. But I also really like anything to do with nature's textures because when you start turning them into repeats and mirrors, there's animals and creatures and all sorts of things that fractal and become alive within it. And a lot of my artwork is nature-based screen prints that we create in a little darkroom scenario, computer drawing, darkroom, and then onto screen. This is sort of nice to work on a larger scale so that I can actually see something, bigger than A3. And it's taken me on a really beautiful journey. I've got another tree bark piece that'll be exhibited soon in an exhibition that's of tree bark from the Mossman rain trees as you're going north from Mossman. And I've really enjoyed the word biophilia and have an exhibition coming up soon.
Beautiful word.
It literally translates to a love of life and all living natural things, or just all living things.
Yeah.
And that sort of encapsulates my enthusiasm for being immersed in nature.
Yeah.
Feeling, smelling, tasting almost the rainforest.
Yeah.
We're going shortly for a swim at the boulders because we've come down to record this amazing podcast here in Babinda, and I woke up this morning knowing I was going to that rainforest and I feel like a 5-year-old kid. I'm so excited to go and immerse myself in it and visit it, and I want my art to reflect things that people can connect with themselves in nature that I feel like I wander around doing that all the time.
And I feel the same way about the Daintree rainforest. When I get up there, it just has this feeling of home for me up there.
Yes.
And like this feeling of connectedness and interconnectedness, which I think is really at the crux of this story, is that we didn't know that we were creating, something special and something magical in that first life drawing night. But just you creating a beautiful piece of artwork and me not knowing, and her trying to find me through this process, and then like in this, you know, this moment of connection, like, which we actually haven't spoken about, I sort of intuitively knew with that morning, sometime that morning, I just got this flash of like, I'm going to be coming home with some artwork today. And little did I know that it would actually be of me, not something that I, you know, fell in love with and bought. But yeah, I have fallen in love with this piece. But yeah.
And just finally, just want to say, with Just Be Design, which I run with my hubby Neil, the whole concept of being a human being, not a human doer, is actually, bees are a component of it, but just be is such a beautiful space that I find when I'm in my moments of deep creation. It's like a meditation, which I guess is like you being a life model in that deep pose of 20 minutes where you're just lost in that beautiful moment of now. You just be. And that's really precious and beautiful and special. So,
and maybe a timely message for me as I'm going through some like overwhelm and too busy, and you know, maybe just chill. Just take some time out. Yeah.
Beautiful. In the future, we're going to do something really magical together that's become a collaboration out of the actual WOW Women of the World Festival meeting, and through this beautiful artwork, which I'm excited about. And going into the future, I've also got quite a few creative projects that have come from this too, which is an exhibition coming up called Biophilia. And I'm going down to a festival next weekend, Rootbound, and exhibiting there. So I've really dived back into the art space with a lot more confidence and a lot more knowledge that what I'm doing is of something not just for beauty, like there is of service there too. Yeah, and I'm excited.
I am also very excited about our collaboration. That's going to be a little bit secret. Not giving away too much details. You have to like stay tuned for that one.
Yes.
What have I got coming up? I've got boring work. I work as a nurse.
Boring.
But once a week I host a meditation night in Cairns City. That's just from 6 p.m. until about 6:45. Just come and learn mindfulness skills to just help you through your week.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'll have to come along.
Yeah.
Sounds great. And we also want to extend that beautiful thank you out to Arts Nexus for inviting us down here today to the WOW Women of the World Festival, for also making this all happen. And we really appreciate your time today, Melissa. Thank you very much. I also wanted to put in a huge thank you to Orange Peel. He has created the original music that's what you can hear on the beginning and end of this podcast. It's called Living from the Heart, and he's recorded it with the beautiful Sharni Hudson doing the vocals. So thanks so much, Orange Peel.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Nice to collaborate with you and share the story.
Thank you.
We are the chosen ones. Helping our Mother Earth. We are the waves of Earth. All the baby.